I'm calling this the stop bot because what I did was I'm going to make a comment in the video which will be the actual indicator for the MT4 platform. So it's just, I call it bar, but it was published, it was basically a bar that you could create a giant bar of the bar chart and actually take off the directional biases. This is kind of a non-directional binary bot, stop bot entry. You can either look for, the best way to use this is to fit your order to the volatility of the last known bar. Well, you're going to get in and you're going to place buy stops and sell stops on either side of the market if the criteria of the bar is, say, 10, 20 pips. You pick that risk window up front. Then either you've got a you're either going to hand place these orders and bracket it, or when you get to that range, you're going to put on a hedge at the market and lock in a what some people call a non-losing trade, but one of these legs is going to get kicked out, and if they rip it back on you, you're going to get trounced on both sides of the hedge. But now, if you take up the 5-minute chart or the 1-minute chart, and you can see what the trade would be. For instance, any of these currencies, if you're on the British pound and you were going to place stops on the 5-minute bar when the say the 5-minute bar is underneath the threshold of, say, 10 pips. So to test the theory, and this is mechanical trading, if you don't want to have to decide the trend and you just want to have the market pick you up in what some people would call order flow trading, and people have the most elaborate interpretation of price. It really is nothing more than there's volatility and there's not volatility, there's high prices and low prices, and that's all there is. There is the closing price, there is the punctuation. I've taken out the rhythm of the market, and this is blind trading, mechanical trading. So you have to just in your mind try to see what's your criteria for entry. Maybe you're looking for a 5-pip bar on the 5-minute chart. Now you can tell a robot, every time you see a 5-pip bar, put in a sell stop and a buy stop. So at some point here, when this flags out, depending on if you wrote it correctly, and you're only looking to, your first target has to be kind of take something off the table, because the robot's going to immediately start putting in buy stops here. Now this is where you get whipsawed, and so are you really making any money? The other way to treat it is to see what robots are doing and trade around the robot. Trade in between there. Now, if you trade opposite the bot, you are putting, you can see where the stops are, right? So you're just looking at those wicks, and you can see that there are stops that are stacking up here for the guy that's long. His protection's here. So if you're going to go opposite the bot, all your buy limits are sitting here, and now you get picked up on that whole stream. Now you're in. And not only are you in on this cave-in with limit orders, you have buy stops riding on top to be order flow continuation, pick me up at this station. You also have, maybe you've got the robot so fine-tuned that when it sees a baby whip, just this is like this is nothing. But this does not show the ask, so we still have to make up the spread. You cannot see the spread here. But in a perfect world, your sell stops are stacking up here, and you made money on that. Now, I can see if this was a daily chart, but on a daily chart, you would not put your buy stop on the tops of these trees, because you can drop that. You keep dropping down to the fractal that you can manage, and maybe it's the 15. So your stop bot, and of course here there was a huge explosion, and I'm sure on the 4-hour bars that stop bot is getting in here. So the idea that breakouts are fake outs, yeah, they are in this terms of, like, they keep on clipping the trees here, pulling it back, clip the trees, pull back, but eventually you know you're in this big giant wedge. You're in consolidation anytime you see the market kind of not going anywhere. So the noise is consolidation. But if the robot could see, well, at this point the robot can't trade because you just went well beyond 5 pips. Now you come rocketing up here. This is the first chance for the robot to place the buy stops. Small bar, inside day, whatever you call it. He gets long. If he also has a sell stop here and he's truly a blind trader, he just got chopped to death. If his stops were wide enough to accommodate for a little buffer, but then his profit has to be greater because now he's increased his risk. This is the 5-minute chart. Now, if the robot's coming in with buy stops here, but he really doesn't put buy stops until the range gets the ATR gets maybe below 15. But there's a big difference between a 8 pip stop and a 15 pip stop in this world as far as magnitude and affecting the account. So look at these cute little marching 5-minute bars on the kind of drift up here. You can really get a feel if you strip out all of the directionality and the no line chart, no bullish bearishness, just literally watching the void get filled. The void is looking to get filled. So maybe this is your triangle. Maybe your triangle's not on price. Maybe your triangle is the void. Maybe you got a trend line here. You're like, oh, we just broke. Some people are selling here, but if you had watching this on the 5-minute going, oh boy, you just keep hitting the sell stop key. Imagine that, right? You're up on that trade. You just made money. Here, you may not sell. This quiet drift up, it's kind of like a whole different trade plan in a way, I guess. And so if you can think like a bot, if you can see, and now the guy that sold the top of here is probably cashing out of something. Now maybe he's got a robot coming in protecting him with a buyback, a buy stop here because he's short. Wait for the next 5 minutes, and probably buyers are going to come in here at this ledge. If you read Joe Ross's books, he talks about ledges. So really, he's a bar chart trader. This is this is almost an inside day, but see, this is the problem I have with when there's such a strict rule on the inside day. How about just a small day? If these were days, right? On the daily chart, yeah, you could put a buy stop there, or you're aware of the fact that you want to buy here, and when they go through that, it's confirmation. You're like, oh boy, and you can hold down through the top of that. Here's a triangle. There's just a volatility breakout. Yen's coming back like a horror right now. So that volatility breakout, and here would have been your entry on the dollar yen. Oh, another thing, that the guppy. Brutal, right? This is 10 pips. That's a 5-minute chart. You could trade that on the 1. You're long. You're out. You just made 10 pips. It's a brutal pair. This pair is designed for limit entry, I think. Your buy limits right here. They pick you up. 10 pips. Buy stops here aren't so good because they kind of chop fill you. This is brutal. Smooth it out a little bit by going to the 5-minute. Stops are stacking up here. So you can see plainly where are the buybacks for where are the short covers in this picture. If you fix the scale and drill down on let's see what the breakout bots are thinking. They're starting to, pressure's building up on the top side here, and they're trapping, I would say they're trapping the bears right now. And maybe you could get a cleaning out of all this price and come to here and you're out, and you just made 20 pips. People's buybacks are sitting there. That's the first trap for them, second, and then wow. So if you don't mind getting stopped, if you don't mind having a robot get chopped there, and then finally he makes it back. Sell stops are stacking up here. Not the best trade in the world, and you're totally whiplashed if you move to break even on that. So if you're just doing bar by bar, you can do that too. You go bar by bar. Like you have a 15-minute bar chart, and then you got the other time frame, and you're constantly aware of the fact that in another 15 minutes you're going to get another opportunity to do something. I think that's how that usually goes. I'm going to get out of this, some of this yen. That's how I'm looking at it, because the that's what those all those algorithms are doing. It wouldn't take much to write a robot like that just keeps on putting in, and it doesn't care. It just, the smaller the bar, the fatter the order, the tighter the stop. That robot made more money on this trade, because when the bars get smaller, he loads in. When the bars get smaller, he's in hard. He doesn't trade these big bars. He only trades the small burst. No trade, no trade. ATR's got to be like 5 pips. You put a 5 pip grid, you're back testing the breakout. If there's not enough pips, you just change time frames. Now here you're going to have to take some punishment on the bot. Your cells here, you get filled, they trap you, they rape you. Now you would have made some money there, but maybe your rule is I need two 15-minute bars with a ledge. This is like Joe Ross trading. And here, buy stops are stacking up. A little bit of a grab, comes back to this, a little bit of a grab. Finally, and if the robot's only taking small bars, he's not getting too beat up, and then he makes it back, and then he really cleans up here. But once again, if his stop's too tight, they kick him out before it goes up. So you could trade against the bot. You could trade with your orders for the, there's stops here on the British pound. Once again, if your robot says, oh, I'm willing to risk 15 pips per trade, he's long on that one, he's long on that one, he's short on this one, there's a painfully obvious. And this, look at this beautiful, wouldn't you have loved to just sell every top? Your trend line looks like this now. If it was a line chart, all your analysis is based on the style of, look at these rooftops. So you can see whatever you want to see in these things. I sell rooftops. I buy basements. When Alexander Elder said, well, this is the winter on the oscillator. The winter's down here, spring, summer, fall. So whatever fits your brain, because in the end, you got to have that's what the candles are about. You got to have some kind of story in your head. It's a pin bar. I do this when I see a pin bar. That kind of stuff. But you can see how a robot thinks. And maybe the robot does have direction built in. But that's another criteria, another thing to worry about. Look how small this is, this bar. If you came into this, and I'm going to risk zooming in on this. In this world, in a perfect world, imagine there's no spread. You're along here, maybe you got trapped. This is where robots get chopped. He makes it back here, though. He's a hero. Here he's a hero. Not so much. Small bars. If you just could have, and I don't know if you can get the bars to jump out of you, the bars that are under a certain amount of pips. There must be a way to write this indicator when you see it, that it just isolates the narrowest entries on the chart. You don't want to be looking down at some ATR on the bottom of the screen. I can tell you that right now, because if you got a feel for the way the markets behave, you're watching the prices. You don't want to be looking down. Don't look down, that's what they say. And also this vacuum. Retesting the vacuum. Retesting the hole. Like, this is the hole, and then it comes back up into that void. So there's a million ways to look at this. Here was the big cave-in, all the way down into that. Double test. Now this is the big valley. But you retest the cave-in point of that. You always come back to this. And draw your own close, right? make your own story in here. Oh, maybe it went like this. Maybe it went like this in there. Maybe it was actually bullish candle, bearish candle. Bullish candle would have changed the fact that this was a triangle to a blind bot. Whatever happened in here, we don't know. It's okay not to know. I guess what I'm really trying to say, it's okay not to know. The knowingness, the security that people will find in back testing a pattern to give themselves this secure feeling when they go out into the real world, so to speak. Like you built the ideal airplane, but you didn't count on sheer gust or something. How they were crashing, I don't know if they fixed that problem where coming into the airport and all of a sudden there's a gust of wind that's like down, not lateral. And it was tough. And I haven't heard about any sheer wind crashes lately. Okay, the yen's coming off the mat here. So I could buy this. Now what's the robot thinking? Is actually it's supposed to be this color. So he's got his he's looking for a small bar and hopefully an inside bar to place a buy stop. This is the 5 minute. And maybe he's long from this whole. Now this robot would have got long here severely. He's already cashed out of a lot of stuff. And the contrarian new low buyer, which I was here for this. Because I love it when they do this. Like, oh, new low. Well, it's almost like an easy trade, right? New low, buy. Buy the new lows. Just buy them. There's never going to be a Gartley there because you're right. The Gartley is a trend continuation entry setup, right? Now the time frame matters here, and of course, if you're on the 1 minute, you can see that the 1 minute euro looks like the only one that you could kind of trade. The spread's tight enough here where you could have under a pip spread there. Here's a nice launching pad on the 1 minute. Maybe your robot's tuned to the 1 minute. He's saying, okay, buy this consolidation breakout. Nice trade. Here, trapped. Nice, every minute after minute, minute by minute. Doobie Brothers, then down. And this is the 1 minute world, and look at them poking up on the 10 handle. Here you know what you're looking to make 10 pips and your stops down here, you're buying right there. So now maybe your buy limits are here. It makes sense, right? You know there's pivots in here. You don't need to even the line chart's too much. This is all there really is in the end to what the market is about is volatility and price. If you could ask anybody if they had to define the two things that the volatility is the rate at which you're winning and losing, or I'm supposing you're in the market, or it's also the rate at which you're about to win and lose if you've got pendings waiting to get filled. And the other thing is the prices, support and resistance. And like I said, this bar to me has been the most. I was starving to see this. I run this indicator, this bar indicator, for quite some time. I was just dying. I was going to just shoot somebody if I couldn't find this. I called it bar, and what the code is this. I wonder if there's the original version of this, but I did some editing here, and I made them all black. The original version of this was done with colors for up and down. I made them black. I made the width 3. You can make it bigger. I like a big fat bar. And there's another place here to change the size. This also affects the size, I think. I'm not sure. You can't get hurt in here. No, I think this is the only size width. These colors, for some reason, are repeated, so I had to make these colors the same. It's just called, I don't know if I stripped off the top of this. But I'll just stick this in. They won't let me post this in the original video because these forward slashes aren't, some of these characters aren't acceptable, but this is pretty much the original thing. I just cut the I fattened up the bars. Okay, looks like yen's going back up. Okay, so the buy bot is getting in now. He went long on this 1 minute, but maybe that's too tight. Here's the 5 minute world. He's long right now, and his stop is here. So he went long maybe here, based on that stack up, and maybe he moved his stop to break even, or his stop is still existing. And maybe people are going to buy that, but it's too late for me. I want to buy this buy stop. The robot's going to get in here. Last known high. It's like a turtle bot. If you, it's really a volatility turtle bot, and that's how these guys made money. The only problem is when the market goes sideways, turtle traders getting chopped to death. And so if you run a line chart underneath this is an indicator, you could plot a line chart on the lower panel as an indicator of closing price and treat it as RSI and draw trend lines on it. So you'd actually have above you a volatility. It's a bottomless pit, right? But I'm just trying to destroy the candle charting, and I got some wonderful, the more thumbs down the better on my videos. Some give me a thumbs down, but people never say what they didn't like. I guess they don't like I don't know what aspect they're criticizing when people give a thumbs down. But to destroy, to go back, check your premise. This is an Ayn Rand thing. In the morning, you know, you always wake up and you go, maybe I should change my socks and become a Czech. Bruce Jenner did it. But so now that's a checklist. Maybe you can just take that off the table right off the bat. But it never hurts to go back and ask yourself the most simple questions. And people would say, well, but that's obvious. But we can get lost in a Gartley. We can get lost in saying, I back tested it, now I got to go out with my new hammer and look for the perfect nail. And if you bring a sledgehammer to a finishing nail job, you're going to have to choke up on that sledgehammer. If you're going to trade the guppy, you're trading a sledgehammer. And maybe you want to listen to Peter Gabriel while you're trading the guppy. There's all sorts of psychological workarounds to trick yourself into not getting in trouble in certain things. See, now the robot's long. So let the bot go, and maybe you have a contrarian bot that's picking up. And I could not get this to happen in MetaTrader. It'd be interesting to do that where it's buying this stop. It's getting in on limits here. It's getting on stops here. I don't know if that's possible to do in one system. I'm eventually, I guess this video will be the one I have to send to somebody. And what I also this is for anybody that programs, is I found about 30 guys that supposedly can program MT4. Can you write a expert advisor that is on the 5-minute chart, and he's placing buy stops here, and he's placing buy limits here. So he places buy limits that last, well, this is another thing, they can only last 15 minutes. What I really need is somebody to write a robot that has an entry criteria: buy stops, sell stops, just for simple starters. And the volatility is taken into consideration. So I only have one filter, and that's volatility. And the second filter would be, if you're running out on the 5-minute chart, it's going to be every 5 minutes it's going to assess the market. And if the ATR is below an ATR of 1, just last known bar, could it please put in a buy stop and a sell stop? Next criteria is, that's it. The next thing I would love to have is that the robot can not only see this amount of ATR and this amount, but this bar, because of its criteria, that it has a stop. It goes to an order bank. What I need is a modular EA. If-then statements. If this bar is smaller, it goes out to a module that I can insert my own scripts into, just good old MT4 scripts living in here. So I have scripts living in a module. The EA goes out, grabs the script. I need to be able to dial the script, change as the account grows. I need to adjust this to kind of crank up the size a little bit, tweak it. I don't want to come back to you and have you write me a new EA. It's not going to work like that. And if that's the way it is, then I guess I'll just find... I don't see why it can't be done. What I'll do is, there is a workaround. There's a person in Germany that wrote a robot called the mouse. It's like a mouse bot for easy kind of catchphrase. And what it is if you had an indicator that you could set to a panel in a certain pixel point, you have to run this on a tablet or probably run it on a tablet, something you're not going to screw up. So you pick an area here, and you need an indicator that's going to change color. So when the ATR gets low, it's going to change to a color. The mouse bot, when you program the mouse bot, you pick this area of the screen and you pick the color it needs to change to. And what the mouse bot's going to do, it's going to manually go out, pick up the script, click, hold, drop it on the chart, or it's just going to come up here and double click when you're in common mode. If you double click in common mode, you're going to launch it. Right here, the mouse bot would have seen this small bar and just double clicked, either buy at the market, buy a hedge, or put a buy stop in, whatever have you. And in that case, you just keep, and maybe when you have a different color for each kind of bar. So depending the color that changes, and I don't know if you can just set more than one color. See, that's the problem. Now, this MT4 stuff, this expert advisor, the criteria, if then, I have a very crude rule system. The complexity comes in as, can I go to a module and have a sell module? And not only that, every criteria has its own module. So there might be 8 modules to sell, 8 modules to buy. Now we're talking. That is a robot I could live with. Think about that. The robot now has 2 orders in, and not only that, you go to a module and you make it so it's a hard stop entry with rolled out profits. Scaled out take profits. Can you imagine? You just go to sleep, and this guy's looking for small bars. He only gets in here. He didn't get in any of these stupid trades. Maybe your limit bot did, and that's another thing. Can somebody please tell me, is it possible that if the bar is bigger than 30, if the bar is 20 pips, that I can have limit orders thrown out now this is another modular thing. When there is a 30 pip bar, we go out to a module that I can edit. I don't have to call you back, and you're not going to write me a whole other bot. And it's going to make money. So you're going to have the code. You can trade it all you want. I'm not trying to build a robot I'm going to sell. We can both make money from it, but I need a programmer that's not, if you want me to give you a couple bucks to get to pay for some beer, but I'm not going to spend $1,000, because at that point, I will just learn how to do it myself. It can't be that hard, and there's workarounds. The mouse bot, there are scripts that run on top of the scripts. You can have a computer that will go out and see criteria, and he will go, okay, you can link these things together. So if you have to go outside and this thing's talking, imagine this is emailing. You have an indicator that emails. Another thing I couldn't do, which was really frustrating, I could not connect my indicators to create an instant robot off the indicators. People want to charge you a bunch of money to write code. I could write you a script in return. It's a trade plan. I just heard Akil Stokes said, somebody asked him, how's your Autobot running? He goes, we kind of like gave up on it. They try to build a, bless their heart, they try to build a Gartley bot or something. So you can see how hard this breakout bot is, right? This is where I want to go. Because when I'm sleeping, I just don't want to get up and pull the trigger on these dumbass trades. So this is passive income. So I'm going to send this out to these guys at, it's Up Something, it's called. And you just basically go to the internet and you put MT4 coders into your Google search engine. You'll find this site just full of coders. Some people are charging, I love the people that charge $3.33 an hour. $3.33 an hour, fantastic. I love that price psychologically, and I love 3 and I love 8, and I'm like, yes, but this is so clever. And it's almost 3 hours is almost $10. And then that takes you to that magical price of $9.99. But you could visually trade the concept still without the robot on the 4-hour chart. Look at this breakout. $1 yen. Look at this. Breaks out, goes wackadoodle. At this point, I guess if you're a high-risk aggressive trader, it's going down. The last move was down without any bullish or bearish candles. You could say this is lower than that. Where do the bulls have their stops? Right here. Now, those could be your stops too. This is why I say the retail traders are not wrong about putting stops in here. They are not wrong about that. They just save themselves how much money? But you can get in on that. The guy that sold this, his stops are stacking up here on the 4-hour. Never look back. Don't need to have a marking that says higher, high, higher, low. This is visual. Another thing, Bill Whittle. I love this Bill Whittle guy because he's just telling you straight out. No filter on this guy, apparently. And he tells you, listen, I just got some gauges from my airplane. Analog gauges. I'm like, yes. This is analog trading to me. Like, if I had to look at a number and I can't do the number thing, they go, well, it's 112. I'm like, oh gosh. Am I going to have to take a math class to trade now? Look at how visual this is. And visual in the sense, it's analog. When he looks down at his gauges, he can see that, oh, instantaneously, symbolically, you see, in all those watches you see for sale, it's always 10 after 10. But you see, because they have 10 after 10, why? Because it's a nice spread. Right? It's symmetrical. 10 after 10 when you sell a watch. That's what time it is when they sell watches. That's the perfect pattern. So there's no doubt we're pattern seeking for the perfect pattern. I'm still looking for that perfect looking girl. Who isn't? And sorry to get sidetracked there. This is really supposed to be for people that want to trade like a robot. But look at all this. Stops are stacking up. Stops are filled. That's why. And look at this. Fill the void. Think about that. Just that aspect of it. And these monster things. If you could have a script that when you get this giant thing, it just starts throwing sell limits up there like a pig. At some point in the end, as each bar size is, you need a robot that can say, when I see a bar this big, I'm going to throw limits in this big. When I see a bar this big, I throw limits in like this. And you can really build the most fantastical bot you've ever seen in your life. If you accept the fact that the market's just going up and down. If you try to get out fancy tools and try to get your... This was another big flaw when I was married. You know, this is another big flaw when you go to the barber when I had hair. And you go in there and you'd see the brochure they have in the waiting room. And you go, I want to look like that. And they never tell you, you'll never look like that because you don't have hair like that. They give you that cut, you walk out, you go home. They actually took a hairspray and they've contoured your head to look like that photo you saw in the waiting room, so that at least for the next couple hours till you fall asleep and get bedhead or take a shower and get severe bedhead in the morning, you look like that person. And you're like, wow, yeah. And then you wake up, the cruel realities, you wake up in the morning and going, I guess my hair don't want to behave. It doesn't want to fit that mold. So that's the thing. I'm looking for that because I know what I want to do, and I want to take all of my ideas and just run them on real money. And I'm not going to backtest this because, well, you could backtest it, but you know it's going to make money. You backtest maybe to fine tune it, but you can't backtest it in MetaTrader. MetaTrader is not going to run real orders. I don't think so. See, the problem I have with MetaTrader is the EA is the thing that supposedly is launching these orders. But you need an EA that has a script module connected to it so that you can run real orders. Then you can backtest it. As far as I know, the only thing you can do in MetaTrader EAs is run a single thought. We're going to do this. And we have a go-to order, and you optimize that one stop on that one ticket. As far as I know, now tell me if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, if I can actually build script modules that connect to a rule set in MT4, please call me. I'll even behave. I'll even tell you that your hair looks great. But that is the thing. I found that the expectations when you get your hair cut. Oh, and then there was the day I came home, and after they cut my hair, I'm looking in the mirror going, is it just me or am I going bald? And I thought, damn, I'm out. I quit. So I shaved my head. And man, you know, you just gotta love, if you look back in the 70s when if guys lost their hair, it's like somebody neutered them and they went out and got toupees. And then when the implants came with the cornrows, you just had to love a guy that was going to try to hold on to his youth. But the nice thing about when you get older is that you get more angry and you get more wise. And you just become, well, you have to try to rewrite yourself or reinvent yourself as often as possible, or you will get too angry. You'll get too damn set in your ways. I'm set in my ways. Don't even tell me how to trade, buddy. Another thing is when you look at these bar charts, don't these triangles just smack you in the face? And this is there's the Gartley triangle, and then there's this good old school triangle, right? But look at that thing. Oh, I got the apex wrong on that. I wanted to... This triangle is what I was looking at. Not the best triangle in the world. Very, very shallow triangle. Another thing is to force the triangle. You want it to be steeper so you can make more money when it breaks out. But yeah, I want to get a bot going so I can sleep through this drama. Now the bot's short. You can see he went short, and he went short really big now because he had a small bar. So he put on the fat trade, put on the scalpers trade right there. He's making money right now. His exits need to be scaled out because what if they come whipping back up? What's the chance of that? We are going to come whipping back up. Okay, 10 minutes till the closing of the bond market now. Another critical window. The cash market in Chicago of the debts are going to close right now, expecting this yen to go popping up. But see, on this, if you had a directional, just kind of a crude directional thing, you have inside this EA, you could also turn on and off. Here's another thing I want. I want some cup holders. I want to be able to have a bias switch that I can turn on and off and say, okay, look at the, this all needs to be sitting on switches that I can turn on and off with double forward slashes and turn off that whole module or turn off that whole section and go into a, what if we put a 1 period is above the 2 period moving average, we're in an uptrend, or 1 period's above the 3 period, very tight, very order flowish. He would have filled on, say, he'd be looking to get in on limits on big things, right? But I need to have that because I've written about, to this time, I think I've written 2,000 scripts. Just wrote another 10 more. And when I say write them, I mean rewrite them, fine-tune them. It's like a whole pile of concepts. And just to start out, you know, I can test. God, I wish there was a volatility breakout EA, and I could just show you how much money this really does make. Like I said, I fixed the scale one. I fixed the Euro's going to take out the high day now. I fixed the spread once, really tight, and ran the robot so when the news came out, it made money without getting stopped out. It made so much money at a 45-degree angle. It's hilarious. And you could sell that to people. Sadly, you know, people would be, oh, yeah. And then in the real world, they crank it up and slippage and the like, right, and the whatnot, and there's a problem. So, say the now the robot right now has got buy stops stacking up that haven't been canceled. Another thing is, what I've done is I've written scripts that decay over a certain period of time. So maybe the buy stops are still hanging here, still waiting to get filled. And if it's a real trend, or maybe we forget, if it's a real trend, it's going to keep going up, right? It's getting in on how long do these orders last. Now, certainly the buy stop orders that this robot's going to launch, this fantasy bot I'm thinking of, and this is for anybody that's, I don't know, listening, is that when this is coming down, these orders need to, my orders would last, say, 15 minutes on the 5-minute. So when it comes ripping back, it doesn't get filled here late. And now it's getting trapped. The orders, ideally, change depending on how big that bar is. Now, if I wanted to run an aggressive thing where I'm going to get in heavy on a 5 pip bar and heavier on a 10, and that's it. If it doesn't see a 10 pip bar, here it's in heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Here too, but no fill. Cleans up. And maybe I also want to have, or right here, it's deleted the last, you got 3 bars, so 15 minutes. The last 3 bars it's filling, right? And it didn't get filled on this one, so you have to picture what's going on there. Here are these decay. These are still getting filled, and maybe the last one. It's critical. It's a 5-minute chart, 5-minute bot running 15-minute scripts. So, but if I have a script module, I can write a half-hour bot that has 1 hour decays, half-hour decays. I got that running on another thing. This stuff works. And it's on the guppy, it's going to be a completely different world. The stop entry works good on a tight spread. The limits don't matter so much, the limit or entry bot. But anyways, that's what I'm thinking. I'm really looking for an EA. So the EA is here running on the chart. And this is, the EA has criteria. It's going to go out and look for the buy low scripts. It's going to say, okay. But it's also got a script bank here for other buy criteria. 3 different I just want to have endless connections. Then you have the cells, and maybe this is the stop bot, or maybe this is all. See, it wouldn't matter because the criteria coming out of here, if there's 4 different things, what I'm afraid is true is that you can only have one thing coming out of here, one criteria. But that's okay. I don't know if these, I guess if the magic number is different on these EAs, they can all coexist on the screen, so maybe it just has to be that it's a one-trick pony to that script. But what I need to do is clone the EA, be able to change the settings. It goes for the buy low script, it goes for the buy high script. If I can run multiple EAs on the chart, but it has to go out and get more than one order. I have to somehow, I can't find out how to script, and maybe it's not a module. Maybe it's the EA is written like this. Inside the EA is orders that I can edit and change, so the criteria is met for that one thing it launches. But to really do it, you need multiple EAs running. Otherwise, you're going to have to buy another computer and run the EA there, and they're all talking to the same account. That's the workaround there. There's always a workaround. And sometimes the workaround, you know, that is the thing that was said on the, I posted something 90% of traders lose, and the guy said that you have to think opposite. And so it's the, you know, the alternate way to backwards engineer it, so to speak. Anyways, I'm going to post this in here and try to send this out to these coders before closing time. Closing time. But, you know, I don't have closing time. I'm alive. I'm always looking for to build things and make things and destroy things. So, you know, if you're interested in doing a partnership, I've got all the ideas. If you want to write it, you want to run it, I don't care if it makes a mint and you sell it for $100,000. I don't care. I don't want to be involved in those kind of transactions. I don't need the drama. I don't need the paperwork. I don't need the attorneys. I don't need the upset customers. If you want to do that gig, I couldn't even be an introducing broker. I tried to be, well, not introducing, I was going to be one of these people you get points for referring people, but I feel bad because if they lose money, I'm like, oh, I feel bad. Like I'm somehow involved in that. It's bad karma, you know. So this is my brainstorm. But I'm sure not the only one running trading that style, or they built a bot that trades that style. Look at this fall out of bed. Can you imagine the amount of orders stacking up here? What if you put the fat bot on, the long, like, let those pendings, the robots, aware of the fact that every consecutive time we get another narrow range, just load Z-Wagon. Can you imagine this setup? Under 10 pips for the 4-hour bots looking at this going, hello. You know, on the 4-hour chart, this is the 5-minute chart. You know, on the 1-hour bot, oh boy, the 2-hour bot. And you can't have a 2-hour bot, I'm assuming, because I'm running 2-hour. Another thing is, I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12-hour scripts. So I'm sure you can write a 6-hour bot. Imagine what you're sleeping, or you're out, ruining another friendship. Imagine the fill on that. How retarded is this trade? You didn't get filled on the north side. Complete blind bot trading. Do you care what the news is? No, you're just getting filled. And the thing is you're going to be upset about is that if you didn't accommodate for this dropping 200 pips, that your profits were here. But you know it works. Now, if the robot has the sophistication to say, well, when I see the 2-hour script is going to look to risk this much and make this much, he wasn't near getting stopped out. Not even close. Okay, it's pulling back now. That's another thing to consider. And to place that order to risk 20 to make 200 pips, 10 times your money, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you're lazy, but that robot could do it. And maybe you do have outlandish profits. And maybe you're going to wait till the end of the day. Maybe all your tickets are risk 20 to make 100 pips, 200 pips. Risk 40 to make 300 pips. Absolutely. When the news comes out, go to the news scripts. So you can write news scripts. Risk 50 to make 300. Oh yeah, you can do that trade. You didn't get stopped out on the 50 stop, but you made 300. You got 5 of those orders in there. You're risking 150 pips to make 900 pips. Is that a good trade? 3 orders, single drops. So there, if you go to the just look for, go on the internet, MT4 drop pending. Those 3 words, MT4 drop pending. You'll see the script. There's no timestamp on that. I don't know how to insert it. But that's manual trading in regard. That's like really setting traps, really setting minefields where the enemy's at. If you consider that the metaphor. This is a raid. Okay, a buy now again. It's a buy. So we're going to buy the yen here at the market. And you would have, maybe the robot would have had a trailing, so where the trailing protection is for the bulls right now, those are buy stops, and you maybe want to have buy limit bot running because you're in a confirmed uptrend. You can draw your first trend line. Here's where they did the fake breakout of the trend line, so maybe you bought that. This is your first real trend line. You can draw. Actually, you could draw here. Your first lower, higher low, right there. So one man's trend line might be like this, one guy's like this. Here's a nice trend line to break. Wonderful. Volatility breakout. Even the robot's getting in on that one. So this robot is like a trading assistant. It's behind you running You're trading, and you're watching him. It's like if you had a child. You got to show him everything when you write one of these robots. You show him, hey, listen, don't lick your fingers and stick them in the light socket anymore. It works when the power's out. Otherwise, do not do that. But why, Daddy? So that's really the thing here, is that if the assistant that you've trained is running behind you, and you have, I guess they call them discretionary trading, you're deciding on the spot. The other thing's mechanical trading with the rule-based. The rule-based bot's running, you got like a Stapleton bot running behind you. But in your what you're looking at, right, you've seen it enough to know, I got to get in here. Yep. And just for a scalp. And I don't know. That's what I'm looking for. I've already automated the order placements, are automated. I've gone to a hotkey keyboard, a professional keyboard, and the next step would be to get a volatility bot, because I think that's gonna, if you have a volatility bot, it's going to hopefully have, I can set rules that when the volatility is high, we do a different thing than we do when the volatility is low. But it's basically the original kernel is going to be the core is going to be volatility, price over time. That's the essence of the robot, and it's not going to do any kind of RSI or any kind of, that's just, I realize you could add that later, but then to me, it's like if say you're making a dish of food and you start throwing spices in randomly, you're not going to be able to hunt down what's making the dish taste like hell. And it's too hard to dial back each ingredient to sift it out. Better start off with high-end olive oil, high-end pasta, and Reggiano cheese. You cannot go wrong with that dish. Now it's just how much oil, how much Reggiano, and how firm is the pasta and what shape is the pasta. You only got 3 criteria to worry about there. That's what it should be. This way you always know if your cheese went bad, if your olive oil's rank, and if your pasta's not boiled. Only 3 things to worry about. Time, price, and volatility. How big did we move? How long did it take? How big did we move? How long did it take? And how much did it move? How far did it move? 3 criteria. So this is the tripod kind of formulation. Stronger than, it's tripod 3. So I'm first guy I'm going to send this to is the guy that charges $3.33. That's hilarious. Per hour. Right? So I guess I owe him $3.33 if you watched this whole video so far.